Well, hello, folks. It's Radio FM88 Australia, and of course, we're broadcasting simulcast live on radio at FM88 Australia, broadcasting from Brisbane, Queensland, and we're streaming through Facebook on our normal sites, Radio FM88 Australia and Dream the New Dream, and we're on YouTube. So YouTube, you can go to Radio FM88 Australia, or you can go to Andrena Forrest. She's got the YouTube channel as well. So let's make that connection. And so, Andrena, it's back to you. Hello.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And if you're listening to the replay, you're making me dizzy, Michael.
Sorry, just okay.
It's our pleasure today, this evening, to have the lovely Michael Lamb back again by popular demand. And you sparked off so much interest because you've got so many talents in so many different areas. So I know this week we were going to start off with star lore, and I know we've got lots of pictures, so it might be quite a picture show for people. So if anybody's got any questions or wants to know anything as we go through the show, please put it in and we'll come back to it afterwards. But anyway, welcome, Michael. Lovely to have you back again.
Hey, before we go, that microphone is scratching. You can hear it coming through. Michael's.
Okay, is that better if I hold it like that? That's much better. Yeah, cool. It's funny, I was working with all these microphones last night. Oh, thank you and welcome. It's great to be back once again. Lovely to see you both, Andrena. I've got some great talents. Obviously, the sound and the cam wasn't one of them, that's for sure. But we did come through with it in the end there. All right. How's the sound now? Is that nice and clean?
Excellent.
Okay, good. All right. We've been doing a lot. Just started 4 new courses at the Theosophical Society in Brisbane here, the Brisbane Lodge, which has been great. So I started off with some basic stuff there as well. Plus we did a star night out at the back of the Gold Coast as well, when we pointed out a lot of the stars and constellations in the sky. So I've been really, really, really busy as well, and also recording the new keys. We have these CD keys. I sent a picture of one, but I've got them here with me if you like, if I don't make you too dizzy in looking at these. I had them here. So I've had to readjust things. This is our new elements key too, but I can talk about that more later at the end of the show if you like. Yeah, exactly. So thank you very much for having me once again. It's been busy, and I'm doing this full time now, which is awesome.
Right. So you're going to start telling us about star lore.
Yes. Okay. So it's a really big topic, and it relates. Yeah, it's huge. Star lore.
Can you not see my star?
That's a 5-point star. It's interesting too, because all of those stars actually mean something. They really do. That's a 5-point star. It was taken out of a lot of the books of religion, but I'll get to the stars straight away. But yeah, 5-point star, 6-point star, 4-point stars, and 7-point stars, 8s, and so on and so forth. But the 5-point is called the pentagram, or the pentax star. Pentagram when it's got the circle around it. Okay, and 6-point star is known as the tetragrammatron, or the Star of David. They have a 3D version of each, like a 3-dimensional version of the star. This is actually all quite pertinent and actually relates to it. A 3-dimensional, like if you look at a star on a piece of paper, 5-point star, that's 2D, 2-dimensional. But when you see it in 3D, it's now called a dodecahedron. It's a 12-sided pentagon. And that is very much connected to the grid lines on our planet, where all the powerful vortexes are. So I'm getting to this is important because this planet is like a living, intelligent being with its crystalline structures. And that's the reason this star lore is all about. We have a history that is in the mainstream. It goes back about probably 6,000 to 8,000 years, with the beginnings. But we now know with the older sites that are coming out, they don't really want to rewrite the history books now. With Göbekli Tepe, we're going about 8,000-9,000 years prior. So the original beings that came here, I mean, obviously there's a natural evolution that takes place on a planet with obviously the crystalline structure, the plant kingdoms, and the animal kingdoms. Then you have a natural evolutionary cycle. But somewhere along our lines, we've had intervention by advanced beings. Now, this gets us out of the polarization of things, if you like, to know more about this. Otherwise, people just sit on the fence with creationism or science. But when you blend the two and you find what is really hidden in behind the scenes, you'll find that we had some very, very advanced beings, and hence many cultures call them, well, let's say gods, or we call them extraterrestrial. We are like that too. We're actually ascending to the stars. You know, we're sun beings. You know, like sun is a star, sun. It's interchangeable, and that's really important to learn that. Now, we've had intervention. I'm sure most of the viewers have heard about a race that came out of Samaria, or set that up, because in the timeline, Samaria just comes from out of nowhere. Like they're flat out doing, you know, crops and, you know, fertile hunter-gatherers, and then suddenly you get this civilization is like virtually built out of nothing. And there was a lot more of these civilizations around. They were built and put about by a race called the Anunnaki, and they come from the Orion sector of our galaxy, particularly in that constellation Orion. It's in between Taurus and Gemini, if you see it in the night sky. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you look to the north, or basically just straight up, you can't miss it. Sort of to the north there, you'll see it. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's in the southern hemisphere. And if you're in the northern hemisphere, you would look the other way, as it were. But Orion, the main star we're going to talk about, well, there's three main stars. There's actually a lot of stars in it, but that constellation, the main star that they came from, or that star, is Rigel, Rigel. And it's a super blue giant, blue-white giant. And, of course, all these stars have their own planets or planetoids. And the Anunnaki came to this culture to save their own world, as it were. Now, there's books called by Zachariah Sitchin, very well written books, very well researched books, and we have a lot of star maps that are laid out on this planet. So we believe some of the original builders of the ancient temples, they go back a lot further than we know about. We've got Samaria there, but these Anunnaki were also connected to other races that were already inhabiting this place too, because this planet is a very, very valuable piece of real estate. We've had a lot of things happen in this solar system alone, let alone actually what's happened in the galaxy. There are other races that we'll get into. We have the Pleiadians. They have their major stars in the Pleiadian constellation. Pleiades isn't far from Orion. It's just in Taurus. You can see it. Every culture that we know of seems to have a name for the Pleiades, and their main stars are Atlas, Pleione, Maya, Taygeta, Sterope, Electra, and so on and so forth. A lot of the ancient fables and mythology, you must understand, are not just centuries old, but are millennia old. And we have a saying in alchemy, you know, that BS doesn't last for millennia. You know, what happens in the news or what politicians say weeks ago, it doesn't mean much, really. Okay, that's the Pleiades system there up on the screen. So the Seven Sisters. So most of the cultures around the world, if not most, all of the one that I've studied, seem to have got a connection with these stars, these Pleiades and these Pleiadian beings. And now we're having a lot of the light workers having a lot of connection with these beings. And they're actually what we call in star lore, they're humanoid. So a humanoid, as opposed to a human, a woman or a man, a humanoid has like the same appendages as we have, like 2 arms and 2 legs. And so even a dog or a cat is a humanoid. A dolphin is a humanoid. It's not like a jellyfish, as it were, or an arachnid, as it were. Not saying there are not insectoid beings. There are many of these. I don't know how I'm going to touch on all this time. It's going to be great. Thank you so much for the opportunity. There was a lot of research done. The older papers that Robert Morning Sky brought out in the 90s as well. He researched it because it was in the lore of the Hopi and the Apache as well. You know, they've had a lore about ancient races that have been on this planet, and they're highly advanced. And this is where we've had a lot of different, let's say, domination. They're behind the scenes. A lot of these beings can move in and out of frequency. And I mean by that, we can't see them, yet we can feel them, and when we do see them, it's very rare, but it does happen. Well, it's actually not uncommon now. It's more common than ball lightning. But a humanoid being, it can be anything. It could be of a insect origin. It's just like an evolution on a planet, and they happen to just speed up that evolution very, very fast. Now, there's also the Sirian connection. The planet Sirius is actually very close to Orion too. Oh, not the planet, but the star Sirius, sorry. It's in the constellation Canis Major, that part of the sky. Canis Major, that's Sirius. There's two stars in Sirius. There's Sirius A and Sirius B. The Sirian A race cut a deal with the Anunnaki. They're like a Draco race. They're a very advanced reptile race, and they think they're a superior race and feel that because they live a lot longer than us. They're masters of telekinesis, telepathy, many of the attributes, because they evolve and grow. Their pineal and pituitary gland are very, very massive. Now, you've seen it in the elongated skulls of Paracas in Peru. This is all over the world. It's not like a 5-minute conversation, that's for sure. You see the elongated skulls and things like that. That's not just like they say it's binding in the head. That's, I know that went on, but it's not like these. These people are royal, or of ancient bloodlines, are very, very powerful. And the bloodline, what they call the blue bloods, have got higher components of DNA than us. So we were working from 2 strands of DNA. We're moving out to about 12 strands of DNA with our consciousness. And there are many forces on this planet that don't want that, because we connect back to our star law. So things like advanced abilities, that you'd learn through obviously high-end meditation and skills like that, you'd start to grow with these things. There's much evidence on the planet, because the way these temples and that were made and laid out, obviously with pyramids of Egypt, Stonehenge, you always hear these stories of these astronomical or labs or observatories in all these cultures. So they're aligned to the stars for a reason, not that they're just looking at these stars. They want to connect back or keep a connection with these certain races, as it were, or species, as it were. How are we going so far? Sound okay?
Excellent.
Oh, good. That's good. I can keep going, but as I say, I've already started jumping all over the planet.
I know.
As you do.
I can't keep up with you.
To me, as I said, it's taken a long time to reassemble it all, and it takes many cultures. I went to a lot of the Nexus conferences, and some of the speakers, they were phenomenal. But once again, I had 30 plus years in Hermetic study, plus I did the Kabbalah for over 9 years. When you work with planetary meditations and many different energies, you learn how to tap energy very, very quickly. It's like a psychic, like they're the basic skills, like psychic and, billet reading and pendulum reading. They're like your basic levels in the Kabbalah. So you go through, you read tarot and all this, you understand it all connects to stars and constellations in this area. But outside that, you work with planetary energy, and when you feel it, it amplifies your ability to retain knowledge. And also when you work with certain metals and crystals as well, because everything works with metals and crystals, right? Like all our laptops, all our phones, all our tablets, it's silicon quartz technology. Imagine if you're using it with rubies and emeralds, like lasers. So they're intelligent stones. The crystal, we call it the Christ consciousness. We call it the crystal consciousness, because that's that's what they're really saying. You're in connection with all levels of consciousness, from solid to liquid to metal to fire and to earth, as it were. Well, earth we see as crystal, but also to the air aspect. Each one of these elements have beings on this planet, and they exist in other dimensions through other spheres. But what I was saying about the advanced beings, they hear, see, smell, and feel beyond our normal spectrums. But we've had a lot of the new waves of children coming through that have got a lot of these abilities. Some people are more clairaudient, other people are more clairsentient, more clairvoyant, clairsophiant, clairgustians. So the abilities of the senses are amplified it comes with this other issues too, because you start picking up a lot of things, and sometimes people need to turn off their psychic ability so they can sleep at night, or stay focused on what they want to do. Otherwise, your spine works like an antenna, and you're picking up and receiving so much information. And 30 to 70,000 thoughts a day is enough. That's usually what the average person goes through. So yeah, the star law, the star seeds beings, we are of that. We are sown from the stars. We have like a natural evolutionary aspect to our bodies, but there's an intervention. We say it, we call it, we have the star law DNA within us, and that way, when you activate it, it's not junk DNA. The RNA connects and activates it at a super rate. And remember, of course, DNA spirals. Everything works as spiral. Spiral is spirit. Okay, everything, spirit is life force. Everything has to have a spin or a spiral on it. Any sport or profession, you put a spin on a ball, you put a spin or an angle or something on it, and that gives it trajectory and telemetry, as it were. So the star law is here, and it's been on this planet for a long, long time. Okay, as many of you may have read or about Graham Hancock's book, Fingerprints of the Gods, where he was speaking about a scientist called Robert Bauval who cracked the code of the pyramids. Oh, there's many codes in the pyramids. They're phenomenal what they're laid out to. In the middle, 3 stars, the belt star of Orion, are mathematically connected or mathematically aligned to the belt stars of Orion. So your pyramids at Giza, which are huge structures, I mean, they're aligned to magnetic north, and they're only out by a fraction of a degree. And also the perimeter, it adds up in the old inch system. I forget which inch this was, British inch or Herschel's inch. If you do the perimeter in inches, it actually adds up to the miles, because it's using imperial, which is an old Egyptian measurement. That's where it came out from. That actually is the circumference of the Earth, and the actual height of the pyramid is actually you got to get this stuff. It sounds like I'm just talking off the Richter here, but the actual diameter of the Earth in inches in the pyramid, if you actually go to the perpendicular height of the pyramid from the base up to the top, the inch measurement is the same as the diameter of planet Earth from pole to pole. That's just a fraction of it. I won't go into pyramidology. We're supposed to do that another time, but everything around those things. Now, there was also Graham Hancock came forward later with Angkor Wat. I know Angkor Wat's only supposed to have been built about 1,000 odd years ago, but I remember, as you understand, with Troy and a lot of these ancient civilizations, they're built on top of other previous civilizations. And Angkor Wat in Siam Reap in Cambodia is one of the largest, let's say, temple structure areas in the world. And they cracked that code, and it was mapped out to the constellation Draco. Well, guess what you see a lot of in Cambodia around those temples? Lots of serpents and lots of dragons. So we've got a lot we could cover here, but I don't want to, I digress. Maybe if you ask me a question, be specific. I can keep going on this for hours if you like. But,
I don't know where to start. I have to say, I went to Angkor Wat. It was amazing.
So's Avebury and so's Stonehenge. That's on that fantastic, massive ley line.
I mean, all these different sites are, are powerful. People don't realise how powerful they are.
Yeah, they're connected on the same lays, what we call ley lines or magnetic lines. I mean, the Germans call them holy lines. They're called the lines of Hermes in Greece. They're called song lines here by the indigenous. They go on to so many names. I couldn't even begin to actually tell you, but they've already been known by the ancients. They know it because it creates their electromagnetic energies that run. It's intelligent, these grids. And most of these sites, I think there was something astronomical, like over 3,000 sites put together on these vortex points or these ley lines where they connect. a lot of the Druid groves where they were, and then they knocked them down, you know, the plants of those massive oak trees, those huge trees. They started putting up the churches and the baileys and a lot of the fortresses and a lot of the castles and obviously a lot of those places. So an example of a large vortex would obviously be the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, so there's over 2,000 people gone missing there just in the last, I'd say 70, 80 years, and countless amount of aircraft and boats, and not just commercial, but, you know, military as well. So that's all been documented. And there are 12 of these powerful vortexes on the planet, and then there are all the sub-vortexes. And as we want to talk about in our star law here, there's also stargates on this planet. And now it all sounds like I'm taking this off in the movies, but all the movies, yeah, the other side, yeah, they hide it in plain sight. That's how it's done. Everything you can imagine. So it all, if you talk about it, you sound like you're a conspiracy theorist or a blithering idiot or whatever they ridicule. But the dream is the dream, and we're dreaming the dream here. And when you wake up, this is part of the gifts we get, you know, as we become more aware through training, you know, meditation, our love. We wake up in our dreams, and it's just called lucid dreaming. It has many other names. Other people call it divergent, inception, when you wake up on the other side in your dream and you're waking up. And it's another big key to how you move in and out of time space, or what we call this three-dimensional plane. A lot of people think time is, you know, invented by people, you know, that, they did the 60, you know, the 60. So it's not. Time is actually connected to gravity and space. And when you understand toroidal fields, this is how you get in and out in between realms, planets, and dimensions. You don't use fossil fuel. That just doesn't work. You move space around the craft. So you got to understand how the shape of space works. This is how these beings can arrive in many, many different types of crafts being spotted now. You know, there's the triangular shaped ones. There's oh my goodness, vortex sources, the cigar. That is a huge area. There's many ufologists can talk more on that. But as you know, there's actually a lot of them actually being built here, and it's all under the, you know, the guise of whatever. And once again, you don't have to believe a word I say. That's, you know, it's up to you to do your own research. So I say to people that want to study this work and move into it, because it's, you know, about ascension and understanding. We are phenomenal beings, not just, you know, meat computers or meat puppets or just protoplasmic beings. We do this through the soul and our spirit. You know, soul is basically your astral body, and, you know, it's your personality, it's your character. It's not your mind. Your mind's part of the deal, so is your physical body as well. But soul is a different consistency to your spirit. Spirit's your drive. And that's what connects ourselves to the sun and all the planets. We're that on a large scale and also on a molecular scale. And we're virtually at the center of the smallest quark or electron. If you moved to that, you'd see yourself at microscopic, minuscule levels, and then you can go to the massive, you know, galactic size suns and constellations. Huge, you know, there's so many galaxies. And where our planet's going now, we're heading towards the Virgo cluster. And behind Virgo, there's just hundreds, thousands. I don't even want to use hundreds anymore. It's just like millions of galaxies. Very, very powerful. Even we have powerful galaxies they're very close as well, like the Andromeda galaxy. And they're another race of star beings that seeded themselves on here for a while as well. It's like an outpost to them as well, keeping an eye on us, as it were. See, they understand frequency, and they know how to modulate it. Just like we're looking into our phone, looking at our tablet, or listening to frequency coming through a radio or a podcast. In between, it's like an ether. All it is the right program and the right device to pick it up. It's like taking money out of a wall, out of an ATM sort of thing. It's the same thing. And all you have to do is to get from one side of a wormhole or a stargate, you just got to know the program sequence or how to move through it. It can be a rough ride if you don't know what you're doing. And yeah, so there are also races and beings that want to get rid of the ancient history. They don't want people to know. They think that they're progressing, and that's why we have these massive wars and these massive battles and these massive conflicts, because of certain. It's just huge. Even before the Second World War, the Germans had a phenomenal space program, and they'd cut a deal for that tech. Their technology was phenomenal, because even in the turn of the century, there was a lot of divergent timelines or parallel universes that were being created. That's why there was a lot more fascination back into Egypt and things like this. So different hierarchies cut different deals with these different beings. So they cut a deal with the beings from Aldebaran. That was the Germans did that too. So once again, a lot of them in Operation Paperclip, they migrated back over to the US, and obviously that they set up NASA. And once again, I heard when I saw Bruce Cathy speak about 13 years ago, he was picked up by one of the alphabet agencies, and they took him over there because he worked out a lot of the ley lines. And once again, he wrote several books, Harmonic 33 and many of the other books. So obviously he was very, very interesting to the powers that be. And he said about what's you see on the surface of these space programs is only a fraction of what's behind. I mean, the craft. I mean, how come we're not going to the moon anymore? What's going on there? There was this massive space race between the two superpowers in the world, but now, they're still going there, all right. There are bases on the moon. There's bases on Mars. There's bases and build-outs all out through the solar system, because you had so many different beings. They've got like a galactic council, the Star Law. And certain ones can operate, but people have to become conscious. If you're pure conscious and pure love, and your energy is clean, you can't be harmed, because you'll be looked after, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that covering? Yeah, you can ask. Otherwise, I'll just keep taking this anywhere you want to go with it, because anything you can imagine. Sorry, I didn't center. I'm going to make you dizzy again. There you go.
God.
No. Oh my God, you're going through a Stargate.
What fun. Yeah, I'll tell you something funny. When I lived in Glastonbury,
Yes.
And I shared a house with a lady who was very psychic, and she always used to, every time anybody come to the door, she used to say, "This is Andrena from Andromeda."
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway. I think Andrew asked a question, didn't he, Jeff? I saw something flash up.
You good?
I think he asked what star system that Michael was from or something. I saw it briefly.
I'm from all over. Once again, it's very hard to sort of summarize yourself. I have a strong connection with Arcturus and Sirius and Andromeda, as well as the Palladian aspects as well, but also understand and have a very powerful respect for the Draco too, because you have so many in there. It's not like you're just seeing like one like clone race or something. They're so divergent. Imagine this in our solar system, or even just our galaxy, this sector of the galaxy, just this. Imagine all the types of dogs or cats or birds or fishes or insectoids. Imagine that, and they all have a hierarchy in different systems. Now, this is where you'll understand a lot of the ancient builder races, even before the new gods, because every time we have a 2,160 year cycle, it's called precessional equinoxes, which we just moved through. We've just hit it now. Between, obviously we're coming out of the age of Pisces, moved into the age of Aquarius. So we're moving into that now. I mean, that the 2012 was there, but it was a big handover from the 60s, 1960s, right through up to about the 222, which was just last month. That's in my opinion, my humble opinion. But every time there's a year, it's a change. So before the Piscean age, or the age of the Christ, as the Pisces and the fish, before that was the age of the Aries, or the Aryan age. Okay, and that's where you get the Ra and the ram. You'll see it on a lot of the ancient Egyptian monuments and their gods, as it were. And you have also the bird-headed gods, or the bird tribes, and they're very, very popular through the Americas as well. I'll get more into that. They represent the eagle and the serpent. But once again, it's all relevant. It's all connected to the stars. That's why I try and say, hey, listen, you see that sparkling light up there, that sun? How far away? The amount of energy that it creates is phenomenal. It creates like trillions of tons of life every nanosecond on this planet in connection with the moon and the brothers sisters of the planets. They all relate to our chakras and our soul. So we're actually mapped out to the stars. That's why these names can't be changed. They wanted to change the names of these stars, and they're not going to do that. It's like changing the names of the week. There's certain races and beings that are very prominent here, and they can't erase them, even with the power that they've got. Some of the Jesuit, that breed, that ilk. So things stay as they are, but for us to move forward, we have to become aware. That's Aries that you have there on the board there. It's the ram. Before that, you had the Taurian age, or the age of the bull. That's why it's really powerful. You know, the cow sacred in India. You know, it's you have the bull-headed gods. You know, the age of the Minotaur. You know, through Crete and Minos. And once again, I could do a whole lecture just on that age itself. You know, you have Hathor. You know, that's where you see certain gods with the horns. You know. Before Amun-Ra comes along, you have the horn-headed ones. That's why horns are very popular with various hierarchies of pantheons of gods and goddesses around the planet. And that's not just the horns; it's actually the shape of the way the horn is. It's like a conch shell. It's it has a sound. It's not just that; it's resonant. Its shape is all balanced to the golden mean. So it's like an artifact. It's like the horn of plenty. There's all these massive artifacts on this planet, and there is a big race to get them. And look, yeah, I know a lot of the battles are over oil and things like that, which is part of the reason. But there are these massive relics and artifacts that exist on this planet, and it basically sounds like a video game, or all the video basically that people go for. They're looking for this crystal, or they're looking for this stone, or they're looking for this wand, or this relic, or this crown. They're very, very powerful artifacts, and some of them, the average person has no idea what they are. But look at it again. Look at our tech. It's all, you know, all the AI. It's all done through crystal technology, crystalline radio. You know, you understand how. So, I mean, look at the first watches. I mean, they had a ruby spindle because the stones hold time. When you understand it, you know, they're living stones. The first lasers were ruby. You know, they were reverse engineered in the 60s. Even the word laser. Anyway, you can look that up in Lawrence Gardner's Lost Secrets of the Sacred Art. There are so many books I could sort of mention. But once again, the star law, it takes a long time. Even just the hierarchies on this planet. You go back not just 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years, you understand how those lines come together and why certain beings' names keep coming up. You know, they're written off as mythology, but, you know, the myth is still here. You know, the legend is there. It's truth. And
hey,
that's
Mike,
what we're looking for. Yeah, go.
Bring out your microphone. I was just touching on your shirt again.
Sorry, mate. That's good. Okay, this is my average mic tonight. That's my good. Is that better? Thank you.
Yeah, as long as you keep it still.
Oh, Greg George has asked. He's on. Hi, Greg. How are you? Michael, what are your thoughts on Dulce, New Mexico? Do many of the alien races congregate there? Yeah, there was a big battle there at the end of the 70s. I found this out through Phil Schneider before he passed away in the mid-90s. You know, the tech that was there. The Dulce base in New Mexico, a lot of the Draco had control there. There's a lot of the ETs are underground in these massive military, you know, DUMs, we call them, deep underground military bases, and they go down kilometers, you know, several kilometers. In fact, this whole planet is like catacombs. We call it Hollow Earth because there are dozens of races and species that exist there. In Dulce, I'll just ask that question. I answer that question if you don't mind me answering that question that Greg asked. Yeah. So Dulce, yeah, what happened was they'd cut a deal with the U.S. hierarchy. It's part of the military-industrial complex, and they tried to do a deal. But it's very hard to do with the Draco. They're highly telepathic. They have 2 hearts. They're like 7 to 8, 12. I mean, the Royals, they're like 14 feet tall. They phenomenal amount of understanding and power, these beings. They've been here a long, long time. We're talking tens of thousands of years. They have experiments that they want to run here, and they've had to sort of go underground, literally, bases in Antarctica and everything like that. It's a big area to cover, but there was a big battle. The military said, no, we're not giving you any more territory because they're taking over more, because a lot of the dump, they're all connected. There's bases by maglev trains or mag trains, all that sort of stuff. All the tech, it doesn't go on the surface. It goes underground. Hence why there's billions, if not trillions of dollars go missing in these budgets. Anyway, getting back to the story, I'll just say it. There was a big firefight. So they sent in the Navy SEALs, from what I remember and what I gathered from my intel. They went there, and these Navy SEALs, they're very, very, very powerful troops. They're very switched on. They're very highly together, and they went up against the Drake, and they were just completely knocked out. They were just slaughtered. They didn't have a chance, because if you understand about the super soldiers programs on this planet, if you understand that, you'll understand the Drake love going up against people. They love it. They think we're an inferior. They think of us as food, like you think of a steak. That's what they look at us like. So yeah, they had to cut a deal with them because they want to stay incognito and keep doing their stuff. It's massive when you get into it. You could check that out probably on a few different sites. I don't even know if you can get them anymore, if they haven't been taken down, but many of the great talkers speak about it. So you hear about these dragon beings, or these reptiles or reptilian beings. It's been documented a lot of times, but they write it off. It goes hush up, gets buried. But they're an incredibly powerful race. They see themselves as warriors, and they were in, not just there, they were in Montauk, after like the Philadelphia experiment, all that as well. So that was all hushed up. But back in the 40s, they did that. They got Tesla in on the Philadelphia experiment, Nikola Tesla. Roosevelt got him in on that. And they wanted to make a ship go under radar, but that was the cover operation. But what actually happened, the ship went invisible. But it didn't go invisible like, when they were watching it. It actually moved through time in a 20-year cycle, what we call the 9/11 frequency, when you understand how that works. Anyway, it moved out to Montauk 40 years in the future from 42. It was 42, yeah. So they went up to 82. And there was 3 brothers on that ship, and that was Al Bielek, Duncan, and the other brother. The other brother was unfortunate. He got caught in the armor when it come back, because when you move on a structure through time and space, it liquefies. Like if you went to an ET craft, the metal's like, it's organo metal. It's like a high-end metal, not like the stuff we have here. It's a combination of metals. They grow out in other cultures in outer space, and it's like a living metal. Like if you were connected to one of those massive cigar ships, some of them 2-3 kilometers long, you communicate through telepathy or empathy. It's a connection. You're like, you're hardwired. So yeah, next level up from your mobile phones and your tablets. That's why energy, because that's Montauk there at the end of Long Island. Yeah, that's where I went. There's another naval base there. But anyway, I've got all that too. That was from Al Bielek. He only passed away in 2012, actually. He came back down time. Time travel is something I was fascinated in when I was a child, and that's how you get in and around, the galaxy. Because if you went in a rocket or a space shuttle from here just to get to the next solar system, if we went to the Alpha Centauri cluster, it'd take you 20 years. Whereas, yeah, see, there's a misnomer here, and people think, I'm an egotist, or I don't care. I don't care what people think of me anymore. It doesn't matter. That nothing can move faster than the speed of light. No, that's just too slow to move around the galaxy, and particularly if there's 2 stars working together, like if there's a binary star system. Light's too slow, 186,000 miles per second. It's just too slow. What's that, about 300,000 kilometers a second? It's too slow. So it's instantaneous. So that's the next level we're moving to, or it's not so much we're going into the future. The further you go into the future, the more one must go into the ancient past. You kind of get it. It's a paradox because when you understand you're moving out of 3D into 4D into 5D, 5-dimensional consciousness, you can understand dimensions are wrapped up right in front of your face. Dimensions just can unfold in front of your face. It's not for the average person to get their head around it, but if you actually sort of work with this stuff, you can understand it. And it's been there, but once again, the powers that be don't want people to access it until they're ready, or they feel they're privileged like the elites do, and that they're going to do obviously Agenda 21 on planet Earth. That's what they're aiming for. But there's obviously a lot of pushback on that. We have a right to be here. Yeah. How's that sounding all right? Good?
Yeah. Apart from your microphone.
Oh, no. I'll do this. My tech isn't great. Okay, it's on my face. That's good. Yeah, thank you.
Just when you're moving around, it's crackling away.
I know. I like to dance when I go to these interviews. It's important I move around. Keeps things going. Oh, my gosh. That's it. I'm really glad it's working. That's it. I'm good.
Yeah. Just keep still.
That's impossible for me. Except when I'm meditating.
Yeah, no, it's just amazing. Like you're touching on subjects that I don't know anything about. I know tiny bits here and there, but so it's all a learning curve for me and a lot of the listeners. So, so what was Andrew saying here? Andrew says apparently Putin captured a recently activated Stargate ship under the desert in southern Ukraine. The thing is, we don't really know what. We know all these things are going on, interdimensional and all sorts. I mean, and like
exactly.
For some people, they haven't got a clue. They just think we're on the earth and that's it. It's just like, well, I don't know how to express, because there's just like interdimensions, stargates, and all sorts of things. Like it's like another. Whatever. It's just amazing. There's just so many layers and dimensions, and you're crossing through so much here at the moment, which is great. So just keep talking.
Thank you so much. That's good. I'm just going to keep this mic sorted. That's it. I've got it really good. It's unreal. I had like 20 mics in the room with my tech guy last night, Cam. We were recording because just recording these new, as I say, we've just got the new Elements key out, which is good. It's available on our website, which is good. It's just me, where I talk about how to meditate on the elements, and not just doing like silence meditations. You actually build energy, like through physical, mental, and astral energy, through your bodies. So you strengthen it. That's obviously, we weren't allowed to talk about when we were training, and meditate, we will be excommunicated when we were doing this sort of work. But now it's got to come out. He wants to take this to the grave. When you connect it all, it is gargantuan. Well, hey everyone, you wanted infinite consciousness. You want to know what infinite is? When you connect, it just keeps blowing your mind. It's unreal when you see how it works. It's you'll never ever be bored for the rest of your life. You'll always be awake. It's like sometimes you're going to numb yourself a bit just to sort of, oh my gosh, So imagine like if you go for a drive with even a fraction of this knowledge, I did about 6,500 Ks driving through Europe about 6, 7, 8 years ago, and it was like deja vu. Like on steroids. It was just like it was like having hourly, even not minutely, because you could see it and you could go down the timeline. So many people have all these gifts anyway. They've only accessed some of the, because if you hit it too hard or you get it too early, it will just blow your mind. You just have like a mega, what we call a brainstorm, and it's like, but in the negative sense. So we want the positive brainstorm. We want to be able to control it, steer the weather. That's the next level. That's the way the Druids and many of those cultures, and everyone can say, oh, there's a negative side to this culture or negative side of these beings, but there's also a positive side as well. So that's when we do the tree of life or the flower of life and the fruit of life. You actually neutralize yourself. You're polarized between masculine, feminine, negative, positive, up, down, in, out, old and young. It's like you'll always be in touch with your your younger self, your 10-year-old, your 5-year-old, whatever age, you can slow down the timelines. Plus, if you keep going this work, you'll be presented things in your dreams. You'll meet certain beings, and it's up to you. As I said, that's why we do the work, so we can discern what is friend or foe, or what is indifferent, as it were, because it all becomes consciousness in the end, and you're accessing on this pathway immortality, which is what's called the Philosopher's Stone in all the books and all the movies. I mean, Harry Potter made that all popular again, but it's always been there. It's been there since the ancient times, and the Philosopher's Stone is understanding immortality and how you connect everything together, because that's how it works. You're in your playground, whatever, it's your little sandbox, wherever you want to go with what you have. Then be in that space, be strong in the space, courage in your convictions. But if you want to connect the dots, I mean, I teach this, I'm bound to it this cycle, this lifetime, and I'll do the best I can. So, I have, students around the world, and it's a real blessing. So, yeah, to connect the star seeds, I mean, it would be huge, probably be on the scope of this show or many shows. But if you actually bring up a lot of the names of these star systems, it sounds, as I said, it's almost like non-provable, because it's like Atlantis. And prior to Atlantis, at the same time, you had Lemuria and obviously Hyperborea, many of these ancient cultures. But if you're accessing that knowledge, it's like there's still that ghost, there's still that phantom. It's like a phantom radio signal. It's happened with radio stations and TV stations before when they've closed them. There's phantom signals that exist. It leaves a signature, it leaves an imprint. And I don't know if you've understood about when somebody passes over, you can access their RNA and their DNA for 30 days, probably 40, 42 days, or even more strongly in the room. But then again, you may have those guides with you, your life, because they're assigned to you. So there's a lot of complex laws in this universe. The thing that things happen so randomly, that's just like an old paradigm. Most things are of intelligent design. I mean, if you look at the way the planets move, people ask me, is the poles are we going to tip? Is the planet going to tip over and all that? I said, there's too many vested conscious interests on this planet for things to go that way. Yeah, sure, there's some shocking battles and some shocking things go on. Absolutely terrible. But if you access that energy too soon, it'll blow your chakras. It'll just blow you. You'll spontaneously combust. I don't mean that as a threat. I mean, it's like that actually happens. There's about 1,000 cases of that in India every year, where people spontaneously bust. That's the spirit leaving the physical body, and that's it's like a sun. The spirit's like a sun. Your soul's like your. It's another part of the vehicle, all held together through the etheric web. That's how the body functions. So if you looked at yourself, if you looked at your etheric web, then you'd look like some space being. You really would. Like if you see all the chakras, something like you would see with Alex Gray's work, very accurate. See, when he did that, he was obviously connected with a lot of those substances. I'm not promoting the use of these substances like DMT, LSD, MDMA. Those things, they speed up serotonin and melatonin production in the body, which accesses more RNA, more DNA. So you actually think you're hallucinating, but you're actually seeing into 5D consciousness. You're seeing thoughts, you're seeing this, you're seeing that. But you can do it through spiritual practices. Very, very safe ways to do that. But what I'm saying, the molecular structure of some of those plant-based substances and other modifications amplify the serotonin and the melatonin production in the body, and the molecules are almost identical. They're not almost identical. They're very, very similar, as you would see. So you're seeing beyond the veils. We call the 7 veils. Many of the light workers would know this. You know about the veils, don't you? When you can see through, or you can hear through realms and dimensions. You can hear what someone's thinking when they might be saying something else. So as you take the cloaks, as you're prepared, the veils are like stripping away, and you can see hear, feel, sense, and know into other aspects. So many of the light workers do this, and they do, but there's still most of the light workers I know working 3, 4, maybe 5 hours. Once you start going to the other ones, then you know you're going to have to be prepared. You're going to have to really know what you're doing. It's not. I don't mean that as a fear. It's like you dream your dream. You're being looked after. You're being guided. The amount of times that you're going to understand, you will be looked after, and you'll be ready when you're ready. When you're ready. Next ascension, next veil. And the thing is, you get to understand that we don't really die. We never die. We do physically, but and you might lose your mind and your consciousness. When you have the past thoughts. When you're remembering things from previous cycles, previous incarnations. There's also a difference between reincarnation and resurrection. Reincarnation is you go through the physical Passover. It's important people should learn about death. I mean, most of the old cultures, it's not a bad thing. It's just understand it, what it is. It's the physical breakdown of the body. It's no longer, but soul travels through into the other realms. You looked after. You get to meet all your friends and fam again, whatever. And then you get assigned, maybe another lifetime. You might come back sooner rather than later. Some people don't want to do more assignments here. I can understand that.
No, I don't.
last cycle. And then you see other people. You're just thinking, they'll be coming back. They've got a few to do yet. I mean, you've got to have a sense of humor with this as well, because there's no way you're going to be able to take it all on board. It's like the things that take place on this planet are just, it's just not explainable to those that are awake, that aren't awake, for the right reasons, or they'll be awake to a certain level, and you can take that knowledge. It's once again, if you were like fully attuned, it'd be very, very difficult to walk around. You're like an industrial area or a war zone if you're fully, switched on. But once again, there's a lot of stories of what, pilots and navigators and super soldiers have seen in combat, things that have taken place. They've had incredible experiences. Their body gets so traumatized, or they're going through so much fear that they've hit, fight or flight or freeze, system shock survival. So it's like your spirit takes over, or your advanced self, or your higher self. Look at it as your angel, your God, whichever way you want to stack it. Your ET friend or whatever, whichever way you stack it, you're going to be looked after. So take care. I know there's things that take place on this planet. I don't want to get into. What I want people to know is that you're wired up to the stars. And that's star law, LORE. And the law's been lost, and it's time for people to find it again. Want to face that, move into that world, So your spirituality becomes a connection if you're ready for that. I mean, there is also on this plane, you have elemental beings, once again, you have the sprites and the fairies and, the dwarves and that, but they exist in different dimensions as us, like, the stories when, the handsome prince meets the princess, but she's an elfin fairy, and she takes him into his world to marry, and they marry. He's living there, and he wants to go back and visit his family, and they get warned. And if you go back through that, through the fairy ring, through that portal to that vortex, you got to be prepared. You got to not do this and not do that. They go back in time. He goes back in time. And he doesn't go back in time, back to his land. He goes forward in time. All his friends and family passed on, because when you're in another dimension, time changes. It speeds up or slows down. People think it's just constant, but it's not. Time is like an ocean. You can access it at different places in various ways, as it were. It's like, that's why you see on a Stargate, it's like a liquid face around the 9. You see that it has 9. The 9's the key as well. If you understand numerology or advanced numerology,
I'm a number 9.
Yeah, 9. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, even Nikola Tesla said 369. You understand that? You're going to understand, a lot more than the asleep people. That's for sure. The 9 is the key. It works 369. And if you understand how the 9 works, just the look of that number, if you look at, that's how galaxies move, how tornadoes, hurricanes, and they work either clockwise or anti-clockwise. And you can also access time through your dreams. You can but that's again dream law. If you understand that, many of the cultures around the planet and the elders and the shamanic teachers have explained about that. So it's like, yeah, you can access that. But once again, if you go through time, you have very much responsibility. You're not supposed to touch or access. Thou shalt not intervene, as it were. Just be an observer to learn. Many warriors have been seen things when they've been on the battlefields, and I've seen it in the timelines in my life as well. I got taken there. I wanted to do this work. Oh my gosh, yeah, it was like you get taken across the battlefields and you saw the absolute carnage. It's been phenomenal. But what you see like these Valkyries or like these angelic beings or whatever, and they take the souls away to process and then take them through realms and dimensions. But it's a very complex thing. There's a really good book, Ruby Studwitz. Hang on, because my thing dropped. It did too. Yeah, Studwitz. Yeah, he's passed on now. He brought a book out, Pawn of War, lads and pawn on the field. Like a chess piece. See that? Yeah, that's a really good picture. Thank you. Yeah, that's the a spiral galaxy. They work in different systems, so it's a spin. This is how water works too. It creates vortexes and scaries, and you have, once again, like tornadoes or water spouts, and that's what happens in tornadoes. A lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of dimension, a lot of really, really weird anomalies go on in tornadoes. Really strange things, like softenings of metals but that's all about how spin currents and things work, or waves on waves on waves. If you know what you're looking at, it's like a 9 on a 9 on a 9. It's a very powerful number, and it's sacred to the Draco. They call it the law of 9. You look at an 8-point star. Yeah, it's the center. It's like the 12 apostles or the 12 tribes of Israel or the 12. The 12 numbers on the clock. You have the center, and that dictates the connection, as it were. Yeah. How's that? Does that sound okay, fellas? Just making sure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Sometimes your microphone gets on your face here. There's a scratching there.
Oh, sorry, mate. I'm really, really doing my best here. Okay. I know a trick. I might do this. That might be better. How's that? I got it in mono.
Go on.
That's good. Yeah, in stereo. Okay. Oh gosh. Yeah. Thank you so much. No, it's a real honor to be here. Now, do you want to keep going with this, or do you want to move on to symbology and symbols?
Can we backtrack and the little key that you held up?
Oh yeah. This is the elements one.
Right. So is that to go in a computer?
Yeah, absolutely. That one there. It's got my logo on it. Everyone see that? Okay. It's a USB.
Right.
And it's got all the meditations for the elements that we've worked on as well. And it has information, plus all the notes and all the credits and things like that. And it has the books that I wrote. Yeah, that's my logo. It's a very interesting logo, because it's actually my name and alchemy put together and creates an X. It's really cool. X-Men. Yeah. Well, they're real. There's people on this planet that have got advanced abilities, and they need to learn to wake them up. So yeah, the Michael. So it's 7 letters in Michael and 7 letters in alchemy. Alchemy is almost like a reverse. It's like if you look at where the lines go, I won't go into that. It's a lot to explain, but it's my symbol.
That's another show, is it?
Yeah, that's another show. Oh wow, it's 2035. Hey Mike, how you going? Hang on, my wheelchair's stuck in the door. I'll get there. This is the next one we're putting together on the planet meditations. This is it. My friend Cam and Vesna, she's been helping me so much with a lot of this work as well.
So can people buy them off your website?
Yeah, they can buy them online. Yeah, these were normally, they were 30. Where are we? Okay, I got to go. I got cameras and bloody things everywhere. I don't know which one's which. Oh, exactly. Yeah, he's a genius. No, I'm a mad scientist. It's great. Okay, that one there. Okay, it's a lot of info on there. that'll help you. But it's only the meditations. Once you start to get it, understand how to build the substances of the universal forces in your body, you get access to so much. And this isn't the only way to do it. You might have your way of doing it, but this is, it's a USB key. Okay, just go straight in your USB slot, universal serial bus. Wow. I mean, look at the numbers and the names they use on all these computers. They're hiding it in front of your face. It's gorgeous. I'll answer the questions as soon as I can. Here's another one. I might do private Q&A for some people because some of the stuff's so sensitive at the moment, and I'm trying to stay positive with everything here. This is the new one we're doing with the planets. As I say, we've got the planetary meditations, how to meditate on the planets. I mean, this is a lot of the Franz Barden work that we learned in the Kabbalah, as well as many of the other teachers,
Right.
Because when we're doing that, well, the beauty with the Kabbalistic knowledge is you can work with any culture. You work with a lot of religions, a lot of philosophies, and it's kind of got it right back down to the really stripped down basics. But the basics got so much power, so much oomph, as it were. You can go out there with all the excessive knowledge that I talk about, but once again, you come back to basics, and as you build on the basics, you got a more solid foundation, as it were. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're wired up. We're wired up. How cool is that? We're actually running all these planetary energies through us. So this is one I recommend. This one here, it usually we was some $39, and we're doing them as a special now. They're $25 on special. These ones here, and
send me one.
Yeah, I will. I shall indeed. Okay, and there's a new planetary one we're just putting together. Really, really proud of this one as well. So that one's got all the meditations from the sun to Pluto. We decided not to put the moon on there because we're doing another one on the moons, not just our moon, because there's a lot of power. I do the meditations of the moons, but we've got Io and Ganymede and Callisto, and you've got Titan, and that they've got a lot of energy as well. They're quite present. So meditating on the planets. As you know, we have the Roman, yet there's lunar. The Greek name is Artemis. Lunar. And that's where lunacy comes from on full moons, where people freak out. They got too much, massive amount of liquid, tidal energy going through them. Yeah, when you understand, it's cool. So it's like advanced astrology, astronomy, numerology, but it becomes like a cosmology. And it's really cool, because I think it answers or connects a lot of things that you were learning, over the years, and you haven't sort of done much with it, and then it connects, it goes boom, boom, So that's why I teach Hermetics. The beauty about Hermetics is, from obviously Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice born, whose name in Roman is Mercury, and obviously in Greek Macedonian is Hermes, the messenger of the gods. That's a very, very interesting planet to work with because it gives you access to a lot of areas. It's really good. I mean, in astrology, well, depending on what astrology you use, and I don't know how many different systems of astrology there are now. It depends. I mean, obviously there's tropical and sidereal and Vedic astrology, Mayan astrology, plus all the different types of those astrological charts is more classical. And I don't know, someone put about a dozen asteroids in there now, so it's all going to be coming together on this new key. So I really love it. We're going to have that available soon. We're still doing a lot of the touch-up work in the sounds and making sure the sound's right, which is good. I like my scratching microphone tonight. Sorry about I won't do that call back again. Gosh.
It's all a learning curve.
Oh, yes, phenomenal. Absolutely. Right language.
Let's go to Greg George's question, which was back to what was he asking?
Just trying to see it. It came up on my screen. Give me a second. I'll just.
It's about the obviously the KGB, which is in Russia. They had a book. Racist book. Yeah. About
the craft they found.
No, alien races book. I'll put it up. The question.
Oh, the alien races book. Oh, yes. Yeah, actually, I spoke with Greg George. It was about a few years ago. He gave me that book. I actually had another one that complemented that too. There was about 57 races the KGB knew about, when they were coming out to, as I say, obviously with any of the secret services in any of the countries, because every country's got them, for their own military, whether they're controlled or I'll just center myself there again. Okay. Yes, that book is that book is a very, very important handbook if you want to understand a lot of the different species. But as I said, 57 is probably too many to talk about tonight, but it's very good. And I thank him for sending me that too. I have other ones as well now, 57 different types of ET races alone. And that book is quite old, you know. Just to get into that is, once again, I don't know if we've got the time and scope to get into it, but I do thank Greg for that book. It's not something you're going to get off Amazon, that's for sure. And there are a lot of those handbooks. Actually, when Dr. Stephen Greer came out, was 2013. Actually, I opened that show at the Bond University. That was really good. Thanks very much to Cayman Collect for that. That was really good. Yeah, I got to meet him. But he did a forum back around the turn of the millennia, about 2000, 2001, and he had ex-personnel came up. You know, there was a senior sergeant, Clifford Stone, and he was what they call driving the Dragon wagons, this massive low loader, and they pick up the craft. They take them back to obviously Area 51 or any of the other places. I don't know whichever. Andrews Air Force, whatever those, and then they take them and they put them into the facilities, and they're reverse engineering a lot of that sort of stuff with the craft. You know, reverse engineered it. So obviously they had to bring the game up, and there's always the rumors that you might know about a lot of the stuff that was found at Roswell. I mean, they reckon things like Velcro, it was invented by this person, you know, that's the mainstream saying that. But a lot of the fiber optic cables, that sort of stuff was, you know, given to us. It finally come out, you know, obviously to the civilian stuff for the last, 30, 40 years or whatever, but it trickles down. I mean, the tech that's available to us is absolutely phenomenal, but it just doesn't usually reach, civilian street, as it were. So, yeah, thanks. That book is quite good. I should actually release it. It's quite an interesting read, that's for sure. Plus, it's got pictures too of different types of beings too. So there's a lot of different. As I said, like if you can imagine all the different breeds of cats or the different breeds of fish or whatever, that's what you sort of looking at as well. And some species, they're just going on a journey through space looking at things. But once again, I don't know, there's like a grid locking down around the planet at the moment with a lot of the satellite stuff too. So very, very hard to discern all that information. You've got to try and prove it. You've got to try and triangulate your information and get as much high quality intel as you can. And that's why you always trust your gut feelings on things. Thanks so much. Symbology. Yep, I'm here. I'm going to shapeshift again. Polymorphing, that spell is called. If you're going past the average Wiccan and moving into that sort of work, yeah, polymorph.
Okay, so we were talking about star seeds, and then
yeah,
obviously most people relate to constellations and galaxies based on their star signs.
Yes.
So are we referring to the fact that I've just thrown up Aquarius here, but I mean we can go to the
Aquarius is there's a couple of big powerful stars in Aquarius. Those names, a lot of the star names were around the 10th century. They said a lot of the Arabian names, Phoenician names, some of them go right back, as well as you've got all the Greek and Norse mysteries sort of thrown in there as well. If we looked at the zodiac, each of the stars, so if we looked at, say, certain constellations, there's usually a massive star or a combination of stars that give it its energy. So if you looked at, say, Scorpio, you have Antares. That's the main star in the system. It's like the heart of the scorpion. When I pointed it out at one of the lectures. So you have Antarian beings, and they're an advanced race too. But for me to go down the whole scope of, oh my God, their history, their heritage is phenomenal. Plus, they learn a lot through their battles. Yeah, exactly. There you go. You brought it right up there on the screen. Yeah, Antares is just right there, just towards the claws. that's it. It's a red giant sun, about 500 times the size of our sun. So it creates a lot of energy. Once again, if I went through most of the constellations, it's the big stars that give it the energy. Sagittarius, Kraus, Australis, Hummel and Aries. Taurus, you've got some powerful stars as well, star systems and starseed beings. Obviously, the Pleiadians are there in Taurus. Aldebaran. There's the Crab Nebula and the Horns. The Hyads. The Hyads is another combination. They're supposed to be the sister star race of the Pleiadians. Hyads, Hyaides in our English language, Angle language. Language of angels, language of the angels, language of the angels, language of the angles. So as you go through it, and that's just in our 12. So, that's kind of like an elliptic that our solar system's growing through, or our sun, our solar sun, is growing through those stars. It's like she's on a learning journey, and her planets, they're all growing through time and space on these massive fields, these massive wheels. Are all the suns connected to each other? Yes, in many different ways. That's a really big question. Greg George has asked that question. It's a very good question. But many, it's like a tribe or a culture, and it has a bigger influence. But when you're under the influence of this particular sun or this constellation, which is a 30-degree segment of the sky, or 30 degrees, and then you can divide each one of those degrees in, you get another partition again, what we call this 10 degrees is a decan, okay? And if you get all 30 degrees, and every one of these days on the wheel, different influences take place. So you might see angels as ETs, but you might see them in the classic form, because that's how your soul astral mind communicates to you. It's like how you communicate with symbols in your dreams. You're given symbolic or signs, and it's up to you to read that, if you're connected to it. Once again, all the stars, I digress. I will say everything is connected to everything else, but it's on such a high dimension. We're all at one, but we're not at one with the wars that are happening. We're not at one with the terrible things, crimes that are being committed by people in power. We're not at one with that. But apparently that's all part of the bigger learning curve. Well, that's a lesson I don't really want to learn. I don't need to learn that lesson. I'm over that. So once again, we're dreaming the new dream, and there's a lot of power in a sun. So if you meditate on suns, they communicate. You realize it's not an inanimate object. It creates life, because that's what the universe does. That's what galaxies do. That's what suns do. They just create life. And it is said in many of the cultures, once again, that a sun is a combination of all these consciousnesses coming together, which is like an ascension process on a planet. And these cultures come together and they fuse as one. They keep their own individual identity, but it's not like some big burning ball of hydrogen gas that is just happens to be there by random chance. It doesn't work that way. It's conscious. It's living. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said about the suns and the stars as we go into the star lore deeper and deeper.
That question there is, can you speak about the beehive / Cancer? But I think the beehive's more associated with Pleiades, isn't it? Been used.
Yeah, it's not so much an area I have that much of a connection to it. In Cancer, as I said, we're because of the name Cancer, what it means. We found the Sanskrit word, and part of that constellation is called Tisha. I like the name Tisha rather than Cancer, if you know what I mean, because that's a big problem with our English language. A lot of the words are backwards. That's what creates confusion and a babble. The beehive cluster, that system, I could talk on it in the next show if you want. I'll get a download more on that. At the moment, I don't know enough about that. I'm sorry. That's as far as my knowledge is concerned, because there's so much energy either side of Cancer in Leo. That's another one. You got Regulus and Ebola as well. I haven't done that much work with that particular constellation. It's to me, I think they're like gateways. You know how like in Hawaii is another massive portal, particularly Kauai. There's that gateway of the souls on that island, the sacred island, not the big island, the small one, Kauai. There. So once again, there's where energy or intelligence comes in and out of this plane, this planet, as it were. So it's just like simply, if you did a psychic reading for someone and you were doing a distant reading, you basically project your consciousness there, and you read the energy signature, as it were, and then you can read that energy. All I know that about the beehive, I've heard of it before, but it's more of just a gateway. Once again, like Betelgeuse is more of a gateway star system. Hope that answered your question. That's Sagittarius, center of the galaxy. Yeah, just in front of Sagittarius, or between Sagittarius and Scorpio. Actually, if you actually looked at the ancient maps, where the arrow of the centaur points is to the center of the galaxy. So the centaur shows you the center of the galaxy. The centaur. More about hybrid species on this planet too, because that's some of the things that went in. The different humanoid things that went on. There was a lot of that. They were splicing a lot of DNA. That's where the Enlil and Enki thing. Enki was a master genetic scientist. So there was a few beings that, minotaurs, centaurs, satyrs, the half goat people, those sort of, they exist in other realms and dimensions. You see them on the astral plane quite often, or not quite often, but depends if you're looking for them. There was a lot of them. I experienced that energy around Venice. Powerful. Oh my gosh, they were blown out that I could see them. I was blown out that they could see me. Well, they connected to the conscious, because if you go to a certain area and you emit a particular light or a particular energy. But anyway, that was my personal experience. So anyway, I know I do digress. So there are more systems. I've done a lot of research. There's a lot of stars up there. So I can recall. I just see certain ones. I just say it's like a gateway. We did that presentation at Cam and Liza's. Was fantastic at the property that night. Remember, we saw the 5, 6, 7, 8 of those dots. We thought they were going to be satellites, and they just stopped at Betelgeuse, and then they disappeared. That was pretty cool. I didn't prepare that for the night. That's for sure. You were there, yeah. Gosh, oh my gosh, that was Once again, I was actually getting to that particular. I'd already put some energy out for it, and then it put on a show. So once again, the star law. You are star law. You are star seeds, and that's one of the big secrets that wants to be taken away, hidden, or away. The powers that be want to try and keep people dumbed down, obviously through certain substances like fluoride and blah blah blah. But we want to be awake. We want to dream the dream. And there's a really powerful combination of letters too that's still present in a lot of words, and that's the combination of E and A. When you get that together, EA, in Sumerian, I think it's the ancient Gaelic, Celtic, or many of the ancient languages. I think in many of the Americas, they call it Aya, EA, which is another name for Enki. Okay, the genetic scientist. But once again, people can have their own opinions about that. But he was here, and then his big brother come over and took over. And that was Jehovah, God of the Word. That was Enlil. So anyway, that story, and it permeates through Mesopotamia and the Middle East, and also they had a sister Ninkashag when they had the big nuclear battle way back when. Ninkashag moved to Asia, that area then, and set up a lot of the serpent temples. That kind of culture.
She was a genetic scientist as well. She did a lot of
stuff. Absolutely. That's exactly. She seeded the Adam Cadmon, the Homo sapien sapien, that our current strain. But where we're going now, Homo superior, one of those, I don't know, acronyms that they use. That's where our DNA is going, because what Enlil did, he wanted to try and stop what Enki was doing, because Enki genetically mixed his own DNA in the blood pool. So you've got that happening, and those people that wake up have got that. And you don't have to go back far. You know, you got to go back about 1,000 years. You'll be related to stacks of royal beings, you know, all over the planet. You know, go back even 2,000 years. You know, you'll probably have that connection somewhere.
And Nicole, she did the falcon breed, you know, as well as the lion breed. You know, humans with the lion features.
Oh, the lionids, the cat people. Yeah, it's very, very strong in the race. It's like the Leonids, I think it was the Leonids.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, the cat people. Yeah, where you see like the cheetah head, or the lion beings, and also the panther, all those sort of cat people. Yeah, very, very intelligent. That's why cats were like domesticated out of Egypt. I'm using Egypt as sort of that whole area, Mesopotamia. It's just a source. There's no. It's just that I can just sort of map it from that area much, much easier, and the spread of the different tribes and races out of there as well. So, yeah.
Mind you, if you're immortal and you've been living for a couple of million years, I mean.
Yeah, well, as I said, you can only access so much, at a time. As I said, to say it, as I said, it was funny when I first started working this work. I was so excited to learn it, and I wanted to talk to people, and they just looked at you like an absolute, you know, what size straitjacket would you like, you know, that kind of thing. And extra large, please. Exactly. Do you have an orange? Yes. And you have to have that sort of thing. And then in the end, it's like, oh, there's a lot of, I can't talk this. Even people that are progressing, you can only say so much at a certain time. But, you know, you gave me this really good opportunity to talk about the star law and the star seeds. It's such a massive area.
What is the power or origin meaning of the word earth? You mentioned EA as the EA. Yeah, exactly. Earth. You earth something. Once again, I believe most of the words in those powerful words have several hundred meanings. The origin of earth, well, originally, I believe that's its name. But once again, we look at it as Gaia. Once again, when you see these combinations of vowels and consonants together, it gives it a lot more energy. As it were, that's why you have silent G's or silent N's on certain words, because there's a hidden meaning. So yeah, but anyway, getting back to Earth, there's other names for it. Terra firma, Terra, Terra. That's like when George Bush said, "We're gonna have a war on terror." Yeah, they're just telling you straight up what they're gonna do. You know, that line, straight up what they're gonna do. You know, they're gonna create a war on Earth. You know, so Earth is powerful. So she's our teacher. You know, like if you looked at that combination Kabbalistically, E is fifth element, okay, A first, so that's etheric, air, R is Ra, gold, earth, then T earths things out, T is your earth, and then H, highest feminine concept, highest feminine common principal letter, the H. Yeah, that's why when you have PH together, you got masculine and feminine, balances things, rather than just the F. F works under law, that's why, you know, it's you've got to be understanding. Yeah, words create worlds. You know, in the beginning was the word. Yeah, you got to understand the language. There are other languages to it, but you can't use that in a common sense or a common text. It just, when you know it, that's why many cultures chant. They chant, and they wail. That's why, you know, Gregorian chanting, or they wail at the wall, or they do this, that power and that sound, you know, oh, really? I mean, the Tibetans, I don't need to explain that anymore. That's another lecture, you know, on color or sound and number vibration, what's semantics. You know, you hit the number, the frequency, and the stones, you know, they levitate. Anyway, I've got books on that if you want to do it. It still goes on today, particularly in Tibet, when they're building things up on mountains. They just communicate to the stone, and they know the frequency, and boom, boom, boom. You think these people, they're very switched on, but they don't give it to the West, you know. Well, you'd have to be very close to them. There's more on that later. I'd like to talk more about that. Yeah, I'm sure living stones. Elevators are not interested in knowing that.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks very much for your questions too. I know sometimes a little bit divergent or a bit skeptical in answering them, but not for the wrong reasons. It's just sometimes it's beyond the scope. I just move so much. You know, you got to be careful, because you're just going to go straight down to so many tangents. So basically what I'm saying is the stars are suns, and we are sun seeds. We are star seeds. That's why, like, Hollywood uses, galaxy of stars, or they're a star. Or Australia, they have the logos. A logi is a god, L-O-G-O, logos, a logos. You have a logos, your label. You have a sign. You sign your name. It's an autograph. You sign your signature. Because even if you sign your name, you take that with you into the astral plane as well. It works as above, so below, as within, so without, because that becomes your symbol, or not so much your symbol. I was going to get into that. I'm really glad I'm not getting into too much on the signs and symbols. It was a huge area. So basically, that's what I was saying about each of. Yeah, well, each of the zodiac signs have their sign, and the difference between a sign, a symbol, and a sigil, or a glyph, is understanding what it means. So glyphs are more to architecture and structure, but you could still say a glyph is like, like the symbol for Aries, or for Leo, or for Sagittarius, or for Virgo, or whatever. So that's a sign. It's kind of like an icon on your desktop or on your home computer, or or it's like an app on your phone or your tablet. It's an app. You just tap it because you've already encoded the energy into it. If you've meditated on these constellations, or these planets, that symbol, it's just shortcuts all the complications of going through all those processes again. Like you've nailed that. You've got that. So once you see that symbol, you can access the encryption, as it were. It takes you through to that place, or it takes you through that knowledge, as it were. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Amazing. It's a universe in a universe in a universe, isn't it? This is the mystery school. It's virtually a mystery school online. As I said, if you want to study with me, I'll put up. I'm just working. Actually, I've got my website open at the moment. I'm just about to sort of just mod out a lot of the courses, and there's going to be a lot more online courses where people can learn from me. Obviously, I'll have a better mic set up and camera. Sorry. Got to keep doing that callback. Oh my gosh. What time are we wrapping this up to? Because I'm running low on battery and I can't charge. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Perfect. Jeffrey, Andrena, I love you guys. Thanks so much for having me back again. So we'll be doing another course. We've got one coming up at the Salisbury Centre as well. So if you want to put that up on the site, as well as I've been doing the Theosophical Society in Brisbane. I've got 4. I'm doing the basics there. They want me to come right from ground one, square one, and then you learn through the lessons, and sky's the limit. Pardon the pun, shocking pun. You will learn, and you won't go just in 4 directions. You'll understand the 7 directions. So north, south, east, west, centre, up and down. Cool. Right, excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge and wisdom. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm just happy to sit and listen and just look at the pictures, because, like you're talking, like I said, you're talking way outside of my comfort zone, if you like, on all of these areas. But, I think it'd be good to have you back, maybe on numbers and colours and
thank you.
Well, it could be sound, it could be all sorts of things. So if you're up for it, we'll book you in for another slot later on.
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you so much, Andrena. It's gorgeous. So everyone, big hello out to everyone in the UK. Sorry,
I was just going to say, if people want to know to do your courses or anything, then just to go on your website.
My website, michaelsalchemy.com. michaelsalchemy.com. As I say, it's probably open and being edited at the moment. I've probably put up about too many. Anyway, it's good. The basic courses and the new ones are coming up as well. So that's my next part of my next adventure. Exactly. And if you know a really good PA, let me know. I need a hand to do this stuff, because editing fries my head. I'm putting it out there to the universe. I've got really, really awesome friends and family. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. I love my life, and that's what you wish to do. Love your life. So thank you very much for adding to dreaming the dream. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Michael, and we'll have you on another time, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
That's our man. Very good.
Thank you.
Where's it? Hang on a sec. There you go. And I'll just put your, hang on a second, we've got questions coming up. Hang on.
God, Q&A.
Yeah, just whatever works with you. They're all thank you. Okay.
Well, thanks so much. Yeah. Thank you. Well, thanks, Greg, and Yvonne, and Andrew. And
Yvonne. Thank you, Yvonne, for tuning in from Adelaide.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Greg on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, everyone on the Gold, all around Australia, all over in the UK, all around the world for that matter. So thank you so much. Much more to happen. And I'll get a lot more of the people connected to it. So it's wonderful. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of this work. And I'm going to get very, very busy this year, I'm sure. So already am now. Thank you.
Okay. And we got.
Thank you.
One more there. Some through. Oh, two. Jeez, they're in there now. They're flicking in.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being part of my audience. It's wonderful. Wow.
The reason I've taken time to put those up is purely because we go to 8 different broadcasting sites. And so when they put their post up, it's only on their post, but what I'm trying to do here is share it on all the other 8 sites and platforms.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so that's why we're doing that. Michael, there you go.
Oh, thanks for the patience. It was like, I said, I couldn't believe it with the sound and one thing went after another. I'm like, chill. We're going to get this game on. We're going to make this. I know I made you dizzy, but it's all right. We got there. Thank you for your cosmic patience, Jeff. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Okay, so Friday night in Brisbane, Friday night, 29th of April, 7:30 at the Salisbury Centre, 183 Lillian Avenue, Salisbury. Yeah. Yes.
That's the 29th, isn't it? Yeah, 29th of April. That's right. Yeah. Kick it off. What time you want to kick it? About 7? 7?
7:30.
7:30 is better. That's good. It gets everyone to get a chance to get home and get cleaned up and after work or, studies or whatever. So, yeah, it's cool.
83. I'm just going to type that up and just put it up there before we jump out so that people can see it later on. You guys carry on talking there just as Salisbury and Brisbane. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone in the audience, please. Thanks. It's been wonderful. There's so many questions. And sometimes when you get asked the questions, it's like you got to slide through your consciousness to sort of access it, and you just got to do the best you can with what you've got and what you're going to be given as well. It's kind of like you're doing a reading. So, yeah. Symbols. We'll do more on symbols and symbology
definitely.
as well.
Mm.
Wow.
Okay. So they want you back?
Apparently, yeah, exactly. I'll have a better setup. Okay, I've got the mic magician. I couldn't do the proper one in the time that I had, so I thought, wow, okay. Mm.
So we made this one here. The man is pure gold. So we'd like to know how you do your alchemy, mate, to transmute metals into gold.
Oh yeah, well, literally, it's got about 7 metaphors to that as well. There's quite a few metaphors with it, but the actual transmute that can be done, but you've got to wait for the right alignments, and I'm talking planetary alignments, and that's why certain beings come here at certain times, even with ground penetrating radar. That's why. Anyway, that's a complex thing that goes into the Star Law too. So, yeah, where you find the gold, you find the gods. Where you find the gods, you find the gold, and that's what it was all about. The gold mining. Okay, thanks so much for having us once again, folks. Okay, I won't even touch the mic.